Hello, everybody who is on the call and watching our second webinar for the year for SPERA. Really nice to see you and hear from you. And we'll also be recording this session just so you're aware. My name is Sam Avataya. I am the 2026 President of SPERA, Society for the Provision of Education in Rural Australia. I like to remind people what SPERA stands for because sometimes people are new. And I also like saying that rural word because we're all from rural areas and love rural education. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging the beautiful country that I'm joining you from today, which is Diringanj country in the Bega Valley. And I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd like to extend that acknowledgement and respect to all the regions that you guys are joining us from across Australia and possibly even overseas today, as occasionally we have an overseas visitor to our webinars. But please feel free in the chat to share what country you're joining us from. It's really nice to see and hear where people are joining us from today. So our second webinar in our series, which really tries to recognise our Australian Rural Education Award winners and the different categories that we have across that to share practice across Australia. Our areas are open again for 2026 and will be announced at the National Conference for RRR Education in Ballarat, which is in August 2026, and I hope to see you all there and remind you to put in an application for an area for yourself or nominate another person or organisation that you know is doing cool and new things or just fun things in rural education. It's really lovely to hear what everyone's up to. So today our topic is RRR school partnerships. And up first with us today, we have Kate from UniHub Spencer Golf. So I'm going to hand over to Kate to introduce her area award-winning activity and let us know what's happening with that now and give her some time to share her slides. So over to you, Kate. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Sam. It's great to have people that are online today and also those that might watch this back a little bit later. I'm coming to you today from Port Lincoln in South Australia, and I'm on beautiful Bungala land. And it's actually my pleasure to tell you about our Explore a Career and Industry Immersion event that we won the 2024 Regional Remote Rural Partnerships Award for. This event was developed to build aspiration and inspire students within our wider Eyre Peninsula community. We're not unlike many of the communities around Australia where we have a large shortage in our skilled workforce and a need to do something about it. So to ensure that we met our community needs, we not only took guidance from the community, but also collaborated with key stakeholders within our community. So on the screen there, you can see a number of logos, and they're the areas, the groups that we actually mainly worked with. So Regional Development Australia EP or Eyre Peninsula, they came on board because they gave us a really good insight into our future development and workforce skills that would be needed. They have great knowledge in what's happening within our region and helped to develop some of that. We also then worked with our local Department for Education not only through our schools, but through our Regional Pathways Advisor. So our Regional Pathways Advisor is based here in Port Lincoln, but she works across the whole of the Eyre Peninsula with all of the schools and knows what their needs are and can talk to them and be another voice for us. Our local health network for the Eyre and Far North area, it's a massive area, and they've got a large workforce, but they also do have a large skills shortage, and it's one that they really wanted to try and address. So we thought, well, if we can help, that would be a really good thing. And also Workforce Australia through local jobs. So they provided valuable insight into current and future workforce needs as well. So the primary objective and initiatives of of the initiative was to provide students with comprehensive understanding of potential careers and corresponding pathways, training and tertiary education that may be required. So they learnt a lot about what might be needed. So to facilitate direct exposure into real workforce environments with the local community. So they could stay here, work here and know how to do it. To create personalised learning experiences that align with the students' interests and future career aspirations, and also to foster community-wide engagement into workforce development. So we targeted year 9 and 10 students across our region, as we felt they were at the stage in their schooling that we could have the biggest impact into what might change. So the event involved 15 Eyre Peninsula schools, 490 students, 160 immersive sessions, 4 universities and 4 business and providers. So to give you a little bit of an idea of that concept of where those schools came from, so that wider EP community, we have got, so Port Lincoln down the bottom of your map that you can see on your screen. Ceduna, right up in the top northwest, is approximately 400 kilometres away from us. So if you equate that to a trip on a school bus, you're looking at probably at least a 6-hour drive. We've then got Kimber over here, is approximately about 200 kilometres, or again, drive time, about 3 hours on a bus. So we found that a lot of the schools then thought they wanted to make it almost like a camp, which is exactly what we wanted. They came to Port Lincoln for up to 3 to 4 days to experience not just our event, but connect with other students, but also other extracurricular activities that these students from remote areas may not necessarily get to do within their own communities. So we developed a program of sessions where they were small group interactive sessions. The small groups meant that not only could the students connect with the host and ask questions, but they were also game enough to ask those questions, which was really important to us, that they weren't just lost in the back of a big room. They had a bit of a pick and mix menu. So I've just done a small sample there on the page of one of the days. So this was a 3-day event. This was not even the full day for Wednesday. This was only a partial day. The pick and mix menu enabled students to actually pick what interested them, not necessarily what they got told to go to. So which was a really good thing for them to be able to just explore what was of interest. How we worked it was we had a booking system, and then the students then would let their teachers know or the school know, and then they would come back to us. So we'd just get a list of, we need 6 students in this session. Most of our locations were centrally located in the town, but not all. But also what that did by having them centrally located was that students were able to have a certain amount of independence, and it just gave them another skill that they could actually learn from the event as well. So the sessions were all designed to be as immersive as possible. It was in a variety of industries, and it allowed them to gain hands-on experience and insights into potential career paths, opening the doors to discover hidden career opportunities in many industries that they may not have ever thought existed or knew about. So as the quote there on the page said, explorers made me think differently about the future in a lot of ways, and has opened my eyes to the sorts of things I could do. So the 2 pages there, or one in particular, is just at the old folks' home, and they just got to experience a little bit of what it might be like to either help somebody that was ageing, or actually be ageing themselves. As part of the event, we also had a career expo to expand our reach beyond that year 9 level, and to make the most of the exhibitors that have had to travel from outside our region. So probably one thing I didn't say is Port Lincoln is probably, it was approximately 7 hours drive from Adelaide, 7 to 8 hours, depending on the day and how many trucks you come across and caravans. So for people to travel to our area was a big commitment for them. So at that Career Roadshow, we had 37 exhibitors, 4 universities, and 3 breakout information sessions and a community jobs board. This event connected students, school leavers, career changers and job seekers with industry leaders, while also facilitating networking opportunities and knowledge exchange between industries, enhancing our community engagement in our workforce development. So what did we learn from our event? Well, it was a massive undertaking. However, we also learned that there's a need for it in our community. There's a need for us to provide opportunities to our younger generation to build their aspiration and to grow our own workforce. The collaboration that occurred not only between our working group, but individual businesses and organisation was not only valuable, but a real honour to see. By South Australian standards, we are a large regional hub with a population of around about 18,000 if we take just the outlying areas. However, the Eyre Peninsula is a vast area and communities are isolated, and opportunities to explore and discover more would normally mean a trip to Adelaide, which isn't always possible. We've also made sure that we've now set the day in advance so that we can ensure that schools and businesses can place it in their calendars and make sure that it's an event that they are wanting to be there. Like I said, it was a large undertaking, not just for us as the organisers, but also logistically for our schools. To get the students to the individual businesses, particularly for our larger schools, was an issue, as well as the capacity of the working group to have time to dedicate to the coordination of the event as it grew. So where to next? We've gone back to our schools. We've gone back to our community via our working group and have changed the format slightly for this year. We now have a combined event and at a larger venue. It's still very interactive and students will be immersed in careers and pathways, but logistically, there's not as much movement between the sites, has been drastically reduced. At this point, it's clear that what we are doing is popular choice, as we have doubled our exhibitors with 80 registrations in comparison to that first year of the 40, or actually last year was 42. So our year 9s will still come and explore the Career Roadshow, is what we've sort of combined, made that a little bit of a combination. We are creating a smaller immersive experience for those school students that are attending from further away with a 2-day program. We still want them to have the benefits that they previously had of coming to town, not only exploring what opportunities there are here, but also to make sure that they have those extracurricular activities and just that experience of coming to a bigger location. And that's, my events. Now, Sam, I don't know if I'm going to questions now, though. I don't think either, am I?
Hello. Thank you so much, Kate. We're at time for your presentation, but we'll go to our other presenter today, and then if we have time at the end for both of them, we'll have question time then. If people can think of a question they'd like to ask now, please pop it in the chat so that we can forward it to our presenters today if we don't get time for questions. Now, I've just seen, is it Hey Kia or Hey Kia? Hello.
Hey Kia, hello.
Nice to see you. We weren't sure if you'd be able to get great internet connection from wherever you're joining us from, but so pleased to see you live. So that's wonderful. I'm going to hand over to you. Do you have any slides that you'd like to share?
I don't. No,
wonderful.
Thank you.
So we can just hear you speak. Excellent. Wonderful. I'll hand over to hear all about your area award-winning program.
Great. So I'm coming to you from Jaru and Gidja lands in Halls Creek and in the Kimberleys. Carl Merrison, the other co-founder of The Remote Teacher, is currently teaching a little bit affected by the flood weathers. He's in Pernalulu Aboriginal Independent School at the moment. So he's with his class and doing all that we do out remote. But a little bit about us and where we came from and how our program began. So I grew up in Geelong in Victoria, and as a young person, my eyes were only opened to a monocultural experience. And while we did have other people from other diverse backgrounds, growing up in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, there wasn't a huge appreciation or push for understanding different cultures and celebrating different cultures. It was just at the time when the Wathaurong Aboriginal Corporation began their beautiful location there to do cultural tours and experiences. So growing up, I didn't really understand Aboriginal culture or its place in our world, the deep connection, deep history, 65,000 or since creation of amazing experiences. So I had the opportunity at Victoria University with Laurie Mann to do the SWIRL program, which is story writing in remote locations. And I went to Arionga in the Northern Territory for a whole month to deliver story writing with children. And that was way more a learning experience for me than it ever was for the children there. And it opened my eyes to what experiences there are out there and career progression opportunities. And so from then, I went to Halls Creek, where I am now. It's been a big circle back 15 years later. I've taught in Broome, which is a beautiful multicultural community and an amazing high school with a cultural hub. I taught in Ardialoon, One Arm Point, up from Broome, which is amazing. If anyone ever gets the opportunity to teach there, leap at it. They have worked hard to train Aboriginal education staff to become teachers there. So there are only one spot for a teacher beyond Ardialoon, which is amazing, and what we should all aspire to, having homegrown talent teaching kids with that cultural knowledge and understanding. But while we don't, we all get to step in and be amazing educators too. So the way that the remote teacher started was in Halls Creek. Lynette Gordon, Carl Merrison and I noticed that we didn't really connect with the communities beyond Halls Creek. We had a Catholic school 5 k's down the road that we didn't collaborate with. We had Pernalulu School, which has its own Gidja curriculum and is taught around a creation story for each term, linking in Creole, Gidja and Standard Australian English in this vibrant and engaging curriculum, and we didn't hook into that. We've got Yearly down the road, which is an alternative language school with a beautiful alternative program, and we didn't hook into that. And knowing that our kids are transient, our kids were experiencing all these different schoolings, Balgo, Billaluna, and we weren't making a consistent approach to our education. We weren't learning about their different experiences and bringing them into our context. And so we created Teachers in Remote Communities, Past, Present, Future, the Facebook group, which has now grown to over 15,000 members, as a place to share, collaborate, ask questions, and kind of start to bridge that gap and raise awareness for what remote outback teaching is. But we still noticed a gap, which is where we created the Remote Teacher, a chance for us to blog, do podcasts, and offer courses so that teachers step into their new role as remote outback teachers with success, because teacher success equals student success. And I knew from my experience, coming from my background of doing my teaching course in Geelong and not really experiencing a big diversity, that often teachers come remote with different perspectives. They're perhaps not trauma-informed, not ESLD trained. They haven't had an understanding of how to bring culture into the classroom and build on students' strengths. And so we wanted to help teachers land feeling confident, because teachers were landing feeling homesick, overwhelmed, confused, dealing with behaviours born of trauma and intergenerational trauma that they just didn't understand. And so that's where our work began. So I've worked with Catholic Education Broome and individual teachers to deliver courses and just to share the message through our blog and podcasts. However, we've been a little bit quiet on there since we're winning the SPERA award because we've both come back remote and we do our cycles of teaching in the city and teaching in remote, and it is so all-consuming. You have to be the teacher, but also the psychologist. You've got to be doing home visits and youth work and engaging with kids beyond the school gate. So it's big, and we want people to understand that, but also find that place and that balance, which is what we've been working on now that we're parents again as well. So we also do other work. We're also authors. So we're balancing these 3 different directions. We became authors because we noticed that in this exact classroom 15 years ago, my students were in year 9, and I had a range of students from illiterate, unable to identify sounds, all the way up to standard and slightly beyond. And we were studying different books that didn't quite hook them. And Carl always tells the story, I wish he was here, that he used to read about the pumpkins and the chariots, and he just couldn't connect to this lovely white princess and her mice and horses. And so we thought, well, how do we hook these kids? How do I hook this illiterate reader to become a lifelong learner and find a mirror to his experiences? As much as we want them to understand the broader world, we have to start and build on strength. And so we wrote Black Cockatoo as our first book, which was designed to be a small chapter book with easily accessible chapters that illiterate students could be guided through. Low literacy readers could read and experience success for reading their first chapter book. And then also so that young people who could read and were at or beyond standard had lots of jumping off points that they could explore. And we created a work pack that had each different level, low literacy, medium, and at level, so that it looked exactly the same, so that any kid in my year 9 classroom could have a worksheet and not feel shame that they weren't doing something similar or the same. And then that led us to write lots of other picture books, middle readers, and a YA suspense thriller, so that we could start letting kids see pathways from their remote life into other opportunities as well. So while that's not exactly the work of the remote teacher in our banner, that's the other work that we do. And we're passionate about advocacy for literacy and remotes, for teachers to come remote and feel supported and feel success. But we've also been doing some advocacy work, and I know I've only got 3 more minutes, advocacy work around making sure that universities know and understand the complexities of AEIO to teacher and how the courses aren't meeting the brief at the moment. So Carl was lucky enough, he's now a teacher, to go through the Charles Sturt University teacher aid pathway, which acknowledged his skills and gave him 1 year of recognition of prior learning. We would argue it's still not enough. Carl is 20 years experience as an AEIO and often ran classrooms for inexperienced new teachers. He had to do Aboriginal Australia 101 with 18-year-olds as well. And so we were advocating on that level, and you all can too advocate for pathways like One Arm Point and Ardea Loon have, because we see the strength of local educators. But we also, in part of our role of the remote teacher, advocate to ministers. We're constantly writing to ministers and our regional directors. And on the ground here at Halls Creek and through the Facebook group, we've been advocating for people to make local union motions so that they can get change from the ground up as well. So here in Halls Creek, the incentives to be here have not changed in 15 years, but the cost of living has. And so there's no financial incentive, a lesser financial incentive than there was 15 years ago. We talk about the safety of housing. We talk about housing for Aboriginal education officers so they stay and become that core of community. So another part of our work is advocacy through our Facebook group and through direct action, words we have here, action we take on our local level, and the letters we write. So that's pretty much the roundup of what we do. We're so thankful that we could be in your webinar series and that we got recognised through your program. Thank you. And we look forward to connecting more through this, through our Facebook group or through our website if anyone wants to engage more with us. Did I do it in time?
And we've got some claps appearing across the screen. I can't believe how much you fitted into that few minutes. Well done. So interesting. I'm going to hand over to see if anyone has any questions for either of our presenters today. I'll start before anyone's willing to put their hand up. I was going to ask Kate first. I'd love to hear more about your jobs board. That's something that I haven't seen at a career festival before, and it would just be interesting to hear what kind of format that took, because I can see that might be of interest.
So it was the local jobs program actually went out to, with all the exhibitors we had, we actually went out to all of them and said, if you have jobs available, let us know. And then they put them onto unified sheets, I guess, so that it actually was easy to read, easy to contact. We also said that they were located at the event, which meant that people, if they read it, could go straight to somebody on their site to sort of go, hey, what is this? This year we are actually adding a volunteer one as well, just so it's not local jobs and volunteer opportunities, because we kind of feel like that's also a gap that can also expand what students do and or anybody within our community does, and it actually expands our community. So yeah, it was actually, I can send you like photos or anything like that, but yeah, it basically was just a very unified and from the exhibitors that we had.
So interesting. I'm going to hand over to Hekia. I asked in the chat if you could share with us the links for your resources, Hekia, so that we can share that with our network. And I also wanted to ask you to consider coming to Ballarat in August to present, because I know how interested people are in your work. So I'll send you some information. I can't see any hands up, but if anyone has a question they'd like to ask either of our presenters. Oh, Natalie, over to you.
I was just looking for all my bits to come back on. Can I just start by saying to Hekia, and I've just put it on the chat, I lived in Halls Creek, I don't know, 30 years ago, probably even longer actually. And just hearing you speak so passionately, oh my God, I'm just like going, yes, and all those things just seem so appropriate knowing the communities you're talking about. So hats off. I just think it's amazing, and that you can combine like your talent for storytelling within your teaching and seeing where those opportunities are. Hats off. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And I wish we could chat about all the people we know together another time.
You see them on the AFL half the time. These are the kids or grandkids of the people that my husband was playing footy with back in the day. But fantastic. But my question is actually for Kate. I just wanted to know, with the expanded Career Expo Day, are kids still booking immersive experiences within the Expo Day?
Yeah, thank you for the question. That was great. Yes, they are. So we're actually, it's a 9:30 till 4:30 day, and we're actually sort of closing it off to those Year 9 students first thing in the morning, to have them come in, and the exhibitors have been asked to be extremely immersive with what they're doing. So some of the sessions that they would have gone to previously are actually being run at the larger event. It's also then enabled some of the exhibitors that couldn't do such immersive events can come with something immersive. So just to give you a nice example, we've got the local hotel is actually going to do an immersive event where the students are actually going to learn how to hold a waiter's tray with glasses. So they're just doing little immersive events, but to spark their interest and to get them asking questions.
Fabulous. Any more questions? No, we're doing so well. If anyone does have any questions that you think of afterwards, feel free to email us through the SPERA admin email, and we can forward them on to our presenters today. But the recording and notes from today will be available to not only everyone who registered, but also everyone who's on our SPERA members list, which is growing and growing. So really looking forward to sharing that information. And I know that last time we had more people watch the webinar than could attend in person, watch the recording. So it's really worth having these events and sharing that knowledge across our country. I hope to see you all and more people at our next webinar, which I can't remember the date, but it'll be in April because I know it's next month, and we will share that with you soon. And I really encourage all of you to register for our Ballarat conference in August 2026 and to come and present, and also to apply for the area awards. So I'm right on time. I'll sign off. Thank you so much for joining. Really fantastic presentations today. Congratulations on all your work to both of you and everyone on the call. So thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.